let's get free! I don't need a boss, I can be my own boss. How hard can it be? Okay, I know freelancing is something that can look very scary. It's intimidating. You are responsible for your taxes, your insurance, your holidays, everything. If you were employed by a bigger company, probably they would take care of everything. Everything would be detailed in your contract, but sometimes it might be worth it. 7 years I have been animating professionally, on and off freelancing. Was it something I chose? No, not really, but I didn't regret it. It can be quite enjoyable actually. So if you do it right, maybe it's gonna be a good alternative for you. So without further ado, here's what I've learned by freelancing as a professional animator. Just to be clear, this is my experiences of working in the UK as a freelance animator. Probably it's more or less the same kind of experience in other countries, so stick to the video and maybe you'll get some value out of it. So you decided to go freelance. The first thing you need to do is register as self-employed with the authority that deals with taxes in your country. In the UK, this is HMRC, and they have a ton of videos and a lot of information online on their website and a lot of webinars that help you understand better when to fill your tax return and how to pay your taxes. It's pretty much a straightforward process, but if you need any help, I'm gonna leave some links down below, so maybe after the video, have a look at the description. So the tax year in the UK starts on April the 6th and lasts until April the 5th. And you can fill and submit your tax return from the start of the tax year until January the 31st. So basically now it's June 2021, right? And you can start filling your tax return until January the 31st of 2022. And this is gonna cover your tax on any income you have between April 2020 until April 2021. I know it's a lot of dates, but if you have a good schedule, it's gonna be fine, I promise. So after you fill your tax return, you need to actually pay your taxes. This is why you do it, right? So your tax is gonna be paid in 2 payments. The deadline for the first payment is January the 31st, so it's probably better to submit your tax returns sometime before that, so you have some time to plan your payments actually, and avoid any fees if you pay it late. And the deadline for the second payment is July the 31st, which actually reminds me, I need to do some payments. And just to make things a little more complicated, you also need to pay payments on advance, which is basically predictions for your tax for the current tax year, for which you're going to fill and submit a tax return next year actually. It's a bit complicated, but this is mostly important for the first time you're going to pay your taxes, because you're going to have to pay your tax return for the previous tax year and the payments on advance for the current year. After that it gets a bit more calm, but the first year might be a bit surprising, so just keep it in mind. So probably that's a lot to keep in mind, right? A very important thing is that you track your finances in the correct way from the beginning, so that when you submit your tax return, everything is gonna be as it should be. Some people use accounting apps for that, so that they can put in the expenses and the income at the time they get them, and then everything is in the app when they start filling their tax return. Another thing that you probably need to consider is maybe hiring an accountant. These guys are great with numbers, they know taxes as no one else, and they can save you a lot of time and money if you actually hire one. And they can probably protect you from paying too much tax if something goes wrong and you're not sure of how to submit your tax return. But also, another thing you should probably remember is to keep track of receipts of any big expenses that you have for your work. As a freelancer, you might need to work from your home. So maybe you're using your own machine or your own desk and you just bought them. This is expenses that you can actually put as business expenses in your tax return and then get some money out of your tax through these expenses. Again, an accountant is probably gonna help you with all these things, but it's probably a good idea to have a basic understanding of how things work as well. So let's talk about prices and rates. This is everyone's favorite conversation, right? I'm just kidding. I know it's a taboo subject for almost everyone, but it can be very confusing to know your rates when you're actually starting freelancing. This is something that I definitely did wrong the first time I freelanced as well, because I had no one to advise me about it. So this is probably why the employer offered to give me a raise after the first month, because most probably I was charging much less than any other freelancer in the room. So this is a gray area and it totally depends on who you're talking to. But I would say that for the UK, probably anything north of £200 per day, it's gonna be an okay freelance rate. This can sometimes go to something close to £300 per day, but Again, depending on who you're talking to, depending on your experience, your network, your confidence, and the budget of the actual project, this can vary a lot. And if the employer doesn't actually have the budget, they might ask you to negotiate your prices, so it's something that you will have to learn with experience. But in any case, you don't want to be the guy that charges too much, and you don't want to charge too little either, because then you're going to underestimate your work and you're gonna cheapen the industry. And you don't want to work in a cheap industry, right? Right? Okay, so probably now we should talk about two words: a pencil and a book. Not these two. So now you're freelancing and a company has approached you to offer you some work on a specific project. Might be a commercial, a short, a music video, whatever. In the beginning, it is very likely that they will put you on a pencil. This means that they want you to be on their team, but probably they're not 100% sure yet that the project is actually going to happen. Maybe they're pitching their work to the client, or maybe they're still discussing budgets and they're fighting with other studios to actually get the project. But they want to have a basic idea of what the team is going to be, and probably you're going to be the animator if everything goes well and the project moves on inside the studio. So at this point, obviously, it's not guaranteed that you're going to have work for the specific dates that you're discussing, but you shouldn't be discouraged. Just be in contact with the studio and make sure that everything goes well, and if the pencil doesn't move forward, make sure to be aware of it as fast as possible so that you keep yourself open for other opportunities. If everything goes well and the company moves forward with the project, then they will ask to book you for a specific period of time. It's probably going to be some days or some weeks depending on the project, and then at this point you can be sure that almost 100% everything is going to be okay. It's almost certain that production is going to start inside the studio and you are going to be the animator that will work on it. So how can you actually find freelance opportunities and how can you secure a job? A positive attitude is probably as important as your work experience. You're going to be working with directors, clients, small studios, and they need to trust you. You need to be reliant, you need to be consistent, and you need to be transparent. In the beginning, it's going to be a bit more challenging, but with time you should be able to build a good network of recruiters, clients, and studio managers. And this is a good opportunity to work with directors, producers, and creative people and see how a project is built overall. And smaller studios have a very good culture actually. Usually it's more relaxed than a big company, so it's another thing to keep in mind. With that said, by no means freelance work should be of less quality. Sometimes freelancing gets a bad reputation. Everyone wants to see experience from feature film or from a AAA video game or something in those lines. But if done correctly, freelance work should be always of the best quality as possible. If you are an animator, then you should love your work, you should love animating. I've seen sometimes people freelancing and they're not putting the effort that they put in other projects, and that's really sad because ideally you should always try to put your best. You should always try to get inspired and do the work that you love doing because you love doing it actually. You should not do it because of the prestige of the company or the project. You should do it because you believe in your skills and you love animation. And this is how you create a good reputation for yourself. This is how employers can trust you and they will keep asking you back for more projects in the future. So in conclusion, I know freelancing can be intimidating, you get responsibilities for everything, and it can be very scary, but it's no Resident Evil Village. I'm pretty sure you can survive this. And if you actually try it, you might like it. It might actually be liberating, taking responsibility of your employment, and you can gain a lot of confidence in yourself as well. Just make sure you manage your finances correctly and that you create a good reputation for yourself and for your business. So now it's up to you. Do you think you would actually try freelancing at some point? Please let me know in the comments down below. And if you think you gained any value from this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. It helps so much growing this channel. And with that said, I've been Thanos, you've been awesome, and I'll see you in the next video.